Hi everyone. I want you to imagine you have a child and you're walking across the street with them. And you turn to the child and say very sternly, "Do not let go of my hand. Do not run across the street without me. If you do, you will get hit by a car and you will die." And then you know what happens. The child lets go of your hand, runs across the street and gets hit by a car and dies. You're telling this to someone, and they turn to you and say, "How dare you say that the child deserved to get hit by a car?" You never said that. You never said the child deserved to get hit by a car. You merely said, you warned that child, "If you let go of my hand, if you depart from my protection, these will be the consequences." And the child disobeyed you, and the consequences, well, they speak for themselves. An atheist here on YouTube, one in particular, who I will not name, has accused me of saying that the Jews deserved the Holocaust.
The following is an email I'm sending to Josh Sofer, the leader of the Jews for Jesus Manhattan office branch, on the issue of Venom Fang X coming to local neighborhoods here to preach the gospel. For example, he has specifically said, among other things, that the Jews deserve the Holocaust.
I challenge anyone to find any video in which I am quoted as saying, in these exact words, "Jews deserved the Holocaust." I have never said that. You know, it's funny, the atheists here on YouTube spend a vast majority of their time attempting to frustrate the gospel of God and defaming the name of Christians here on YouTube more than anything else. And this is just one of many such examples of precisely this behavior. I have never said the Jews deserve the Holocaust. What I said specifically is this. Deuteronomy chapter 28, found within the Pentateuch, or the Torah, we find in the Jewish scriptures a warning given to the Jewish people by God of the possible curses which would come upon them if they disobeyed him and broke covenant with him. And I'll show you exactly what God foretold. Now, specifically concerning Jesus Christ, let's look at what he said. He said, "I am the good shepherd." And the New Testament says, "Smite the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered." In the Old Testament, it says the same thing. "Smite the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered." Who are the sheep? Jesus said, "I have come for the sheep, the lost sheep of Israel." So, who are the sheep that will be scattered when the shepherd, who is Christ, was smitten? The Jews would be expelled from the land. That is exactly one of the curses that Deuteronomy 28 foretold. And in the very century that Jesus Christ was crucified, that was the very century that the Jews were expelled from the land of Israel for a 2,000-year exile. This was the first time this happened in their entire nation's history, an exile of that length of time. 2,000 years. In fact, Israel's expulsion from the land is the only event in the entire history of the world where a nation had been expelled from their land for 2,000 years, maintained their national identity, and returned to the land, which also happens to be exactly what the Bible foretold. And so, God said to the Jewish people, if you break covenant with me, if you disobey me, if you reject my Messiah, then this is going to happen. That doesn't mean the Jews deserved the Holocaust. This is not about what they deserve or not deserve, any more than what the child deserves or not deserves. God said, these are the conditions. In Deuteronomy 28, he lays it down. These are the conditions in which you will experience my blessing and my cursing. And so, the Jews, I think, we can unanimously agree, the Holocaust was not a blessing. Absolutely not. It would take a person of far less than average intelligence to not see this. So, God promised to protect them. Clearly, he wasn't protecting them during the Holocaust. So, the only explanation, the only possible explanation is they were under the cursings of Deuteronomy 28. Now, the question is why? Why? Well, we know they were expelled from the land, as Deuteronomy 28 predicted would happen if they ever broke favor with God, because they rejected Christ. It happened in the very century of Christ's crucifixion. That must be appreciated. You need to understand that they were in the land and then expelled from it in the very century that Jesus was crucified. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. This is what the Jewish scriptures foretold. So why did the Holocaust happen? The only explanation is because they were out of favor with God. And why? Because they rejected the Messiah. So in the illustration of a child walking across the street and getting hit by a car, why did they get hit by a car? In one sense you could say because they let go of their parents' hand. Why did the Jews suffer the Holocaust? Because they rejected the Messiah. That doesn't mean the child deserved to get hit by a car, and that doesn't mean the Jews deserved the Holocaust. They suffered the Holocaust because they rejected the Messiah, because they broke favor with God, because they were out of covenant, because they were no longer under the blessings, they were under the cursings. Why did the child get hit by a car? Because they were separated from the protection of their parent. Please hear the distinction. So when I say that the Jews suffered the Holocaust because they rejected the Messiah, I by no means mean that they deserved the injustices of the Holocaust. Please hear that. I can already hear some people saying, well, that doesn't sound like a very nice God, and getting angry with God over Deuteronomy 28. Please note, first of all, that Deuteronomy 28 doesn't just lay down curses, but also blessings. God desires to bless. However, when we rebel against Him, when we do evil in His sight, and specifically, when you attack and crucify the Son of God, to whom you, if you are a Jewish person, to whom He was sent, specifically He was foretold in your own scriptures, and you reject Him, I can understand why God might be upset over that. Now, I'd also like to point out that the curses of Deuteronomy are not God actively attacking Israel. It's more of God removing His protection. We see that when man rebels against God, what God does is He lets them go. And Israel specifically, because they are God's chosen people, and Satan hates God, Satan has always attempted to destroy the Jewish people. The Holocaust was just one event among many events in Jewish history. We see in Exodus with the Egyptians, them trying to kill and exterminate the Jewish people. Happened again with the Assyrians and the Babylonians. It happens on and on throughout their history. Satan is always attacking the Jewish people, and no nation in history has been attacked as the nation of Israel has been. Satan is very real, and this is what he's been actively doing in the world, among other things, one of which would be the energizing the atheists here on YouTube to the defaming of Christians, the defaming of God's character, and the frustrating of His gospel. So this is very much typical of satanic activity, both here on YouTube and the world. The Holocaust was satanic. It was evil. So I am by no means advocating the Nazi Party. I condemn them utterly and think what they did is disgusting, immoral, and satanic. A very affront to the nature and purposes of God. Yet at the same time, God's protection, which He promised in Deuteronomy 28, if they were to be blessed, if they were to be in covenant with Him, that protection was removed, leaving Israel at the mercy of satanic people who wanted to destroy the Jewish people. That's it. So, I don't appreciate being misquoted or having words put in my mouth. I certainly don't appreciate having atheists email, by the hundreds, a misquoted version of what I said to the organization that I'll be working with in an attempt to slander me. This is, of course, the activity of atheists. It's not that they're concerned that I said Jews deserve the Holocaust, because I never said that. So that's not what they're upset about. What they're upset about is I'm a Christian, and they hate God. They hate the gospel, and they hate Christians, which is, of course, what the Bible said. And so, let's stop talking about what the Jews deserve, and let's now talk about what the atheists deserve. The Bible says, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, and the wages of sin is death. Atheists and all of humanity deserve to die and go to hell for their sins against God. And there is no name under heaven by which man must be saved other than Jesus Christ. Anyone, Jew or Gentile, who rejects Jesus Christ will come under the cursings of God, both in this life, but more specifically, in the hereafter. You will go to hell when you die. That is what you deserve. And so, I implore you, please put your faith in Jesus Christ, or you will suffer the wrath of God. And the wrath of God, quite distinct from the wrath of man, will make the Holocaust and the tortures and injustices that the Jews suffered seem like child's play compared to the fate that awaits you if you have sinned against the eternal and holy God of the universe. And so, put your faith in Jesus Christ. Stop slandering him. Stop slandering Christians. Stop frustrating the purposes of God, or you will suffer precisely what you deserve.